Welcome to Wisdom Essence. Have you ever walked away from a family gathering feeling drained, anxious, or even guilty without fully understanding why? You might have arrived in a good mood, but after a few hours with certain relatives, you're left with a headache, a heavy heart, or the unsettling feeling that you've done something wrong. This isn't just in your head. As we age, life should become more peaceful, filled with meaningful connections and moments of genuine joy. Yet, some family members act like emotional anchors, weighing you down with negativity, criticism, or drama. The most dangerous part? Their toxic influence often goes unnoticed, until one day you realize that every encounter with them leaves you more exhausted, more stressed, and more vulnerable. But here's the good news: you can protect yourself. The first step to emotional freedom is recognizing these toxic family members and understanding their impact on your well-being. Today, we'll uncover 6 types of relatives you should keep your distance from, because their presence in your life could be far more harmful than you ever imagined. And pay close attention. Number 4 is so surprising you might have never considered it before. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Here you'll find content that inspires, challenges, and helps you build a healthier, more fulfilling life. Now, let's get started. 1. The emotional parasite. Some family members seem to carry an endless stream of problems, constantly looking for someone to unload their burdens on. This type of relative thrives on emotional crises, always finding a new drama, injustice, or worry to share. Every time you meet them, they seem to be in distress, desperate for someone to listen. They call at inconvenient times, keep you on the phone for hours, and repeat the same complaints over and over again. You might try to offer solutions, but they dismiss every suggestion because deep down, they're not looking for help. They simply want an emotional dumping ground. The real issue with this kind of interaction is that it slowly drags you into their turmoil. You may start a conversation feeling peaceful and balanced, but by the end, you're left drained, anxious, or even irritated without knowing exactly why. Over time, being constantly exposed to someone else's negativity can take a serious toll on your well-being. Emotional exhaustion builds up, leading to stress, difficulty sleeping, chronic fatigue, and even physical symptoms like headaches or muscle tension. The mind and body are deeply connected, and absorbing another person's never-ending problems can weigh on you more than you realize. To protect yourself, it's crucial to understand that you are not responsible for solving this person's life. No matter how much empathy you have, you cannot carry someone else's emotional baggage indefinitely. If you notice that every interaction leaves you feeling worse, it's time to set boundaries. Limit the time you spend with them, avoid engaging in repeated conversations about the same unresolved issues, and make it clear that you cannot always be their emotional sponge. You have the right to protect your peace, and sometimes stepping back is the best thing you can do for both yourself and them. 2. The eternally needy. Some relatives only seem to remember you when they need something. They don't call to check in, ask how you're doing, or spend time together for the sake of connection. Instead, they appear when they need a favor, a loan, a ride, assistance with a personal problem, or even emotional support when no one else is available. You might not hear from them for weeks or months, but as soon as they're in trouble, they suddenly reach out as if your relationship has been strong all along. What makes this type of relative particularly difficult to deal with is their ability to make you feel guilty if you hesitate to help. They use emotional pressure, saying things like, "If you don't help me, who else will?" Or, "I never ask you for anything, but this time, I really need you." Sometimes they play on nostalgia, reminding you of past favors they've done for you. "After everything I've done for you, can't you do this one small thing for me?" These tactics can make it incredibly hard to say no, even when their requests become excessive or unreasonable. The biggest danger of this dynamic is that it never ends. Once you say yes a few times, they come to expect your help as a given. You may start by doing a small favor, but soon the requests become bigger, more frequent, and more demanding. If you continue to accommodate them, you might find yourself in a one-sided relationship where you're constantly giving while they take without gratitude or reciprocity. Over time, this can lead to frustration and resentment, making you feel used rather than valued. To protect yourself from this cycle, it's essential to set firm boundaries. Learn to say no without guilt. If you truly want to help, consider offering advice instead of direct assistance. See how they react when you stop being so readily available. Do they still make an effort to maintain a relationship with you, or do they disappear until they need something again? If they get upset or distance themselves, it's a clear sign that they were never really interested in you as a person, only in what you could provide. Recognizing this truth may be difficult, but it's necessary to preserve your emotional well-being and ensure that your relationships are built on mutual respect rather than obligation. 3. The Supreme Judge. Some family members take it upon themselves to be the ultimate authority on what is right and wrong, believing it is their duty to correct others. This relative seems to have an opinion on everything you do. How you eat, how you dress, how you spend your time, and even how you manage your health. No matter how satisfied or happy you are with your choices, they always find something to criticize. Instead of engaging in genuine conversations, they turn every interaction into an opportunity to point out what they believe you should be doing differently. Their words may sound familiar. You should stop acting like that at your age. Do you really think this is a good idea? I would have done things differently. At first, their comments may seem harmless, perhaps even well-intended, but over time, their constant judgment can wear you down. When every choice you make is met with disapproval, you might begin to second-guess yourself, wondering if you're actually making mistakes. This erosion of confidence can be subtle but deeply damaging, leading you to feel uncertain about decisions that once felt right. Dealing with a self-proclaimed judge in the family can be frustrating, especially when you value peace and positivity in your relationships. The most important thing to remember is that you do not need their approval. Their opinions are just that. Opinions, not facts. If you allow yourself to get caught up in defending your choices or seeking their validation, you will only give them more power over you. Instead of engaging in a debate, respond calmly but firmly. A simple reply such as, "I understand your perspective, but this is my decision," is enough to set a boundary. The more confident and unshaken you appear, the more they will realize that their words no longer affect you. Over time, when they see that their judgments don't provoke a reaction, they may ease up. But even if they don't, remind yourself that you are not responsible for living up to someone else's expectations. Your life is yours to live, and no one else has the right to dictate how you should do it. 4. The emotional manipulator. Some family members have a way of making you feel guilty without ever asking for anything outright. These emotional manipulators don't demand favors directly, yet you somehow always end up feeling obligated to meet their needs. They don't seek your happiness or well-being. Instead, their goal is to control your actions by making you feel selfish or ungrateful if you say no. What makes this type of person particularly toxic is their ability to tap into your emotions, making you believe that you owe them something. They remind you of the sacrifices they have made for you, exaggerate their disappointment if you don't comply, and use subtle but powerful language to create guilt. Their words are carefully chosen to make you question yourself, leaving you feeling like a bad person if you refuse to give in. Their manipulation often follows predictable patterns. They might play the victim, saying things like, "After all I've done for you, this is the thanks I get?" They compare you to others, insisting, "Your cousin would never say no to me. He has such a big heart." They use subtle insinuations such as, "I expected more from you. I thought we were closer." And when all else fails, they exaggerate their desperation, saying, "I don't know what I'll do without you. You're the only one I can count on." These tactics are designed to make you feel solely responsible for their happiness, trapping you in a cycle of guilt and obligation. As you get older, these manipulative tactics can become even more dangerous. You might feel more vulnerable, more susceptible to their emotional blackmail, and more convinced that you truly owe them your time, energy, or resources. The result? A never-ending pattern in which you keep sacrificing your well-being for them while they continue to take without giving anything in return. To protect yourself, the first step is recognizing the difference between genuine affection and manipulation. If every interaction with this person leaves you feeling drained, guilty, or anxious, it's a clear sign of an unhealthy dynamic. Set firm boundaries and don't feel pressured to respond immediately to their requests. Instead, take a step back and ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I feel guilty? If it's the latter, remind yourself that their feelings are not your responsibility. When they try to guilt trip you, stay calm and assertive. A simple, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you right now," is enough. Don't over-explain or justify your decision. That only gives them more room to manipulate you. Stand firm in your choices, knowing that real love and respect don't require you to sacrifice your peace of mind. 5. The toxic savior. Some family members don't seem harmful at first. In fact, they may appear to be the most caring and supportive people around. They offer help with everything, from managing your health to handling daily tasks to making big life decisions. They always seem willing to step in, and at first their presence feels reassuring. You might even appreciate their efforts, believing they truly have your best interests at heart. But over time, their support becomes something else entirely. What starts as kindness slowly turns into control. Instead of helping you maintain your independence, they make you feel incapable of managing things on your own. Their involvement grows little by little until they are making choices for you, often without even asking. And the most dangerous part? You might not even realize it's happening until you've already become dependent on them. They use phrases that seem thoughtful but actually undermine your confidence. "Leave it, I'll do it." "You're too old for this, let me take care of it." "Are you sure you want to do that? Wouldn't it be better if I handled it for you?" "I don't want you to stress over this, just leave the decisions to me." These words plant seeds of doubt in your mind, making you second-guess your own abilities. Over time, you may start to believe that you really can't handle things on your own. Tasks you once did easily may now feel overwhelming because you've grown accustomed to letting them take charge. This dynamic is incredibly dangerous because it slowly erodes your independence. What may have begun as occasional assistance gradually becomes a form of control, where you no longer feel capable of making decisions without their input. The more you rely on them, the more power they gain over your life. And if you ever try to reclaim your autonomy, they might react with frustration, guilt-tripping, or even anger because their role as your savior is something they don't want to lose. To protect yourself, it's essential to recognize when help crosses the line into control. If this person regularly makes decisions on your behalf without asking, or if you feel pressured to accept their help even when you don't need it, it's time to push back. Start by taking back control of small decisions and gradually rebuild your confidence. If they try to interfere, respond firmly but calmly. "I really appreciate your concern, but I'd rather handle this myself." If they persist, seek support elsewhere, perhaps from professionals or friends who respect your ability to make your own choices. Your independence is valuable, and no one has the right to take it from you under the guise of helping. You are still fully capable of living life on your own terms. Don't let anyone convince you. 6. The perfect one. There's always that one relative who seems to have it all. Every time you see them, they boast about their perfect life. Happy marriage, successful career, well-behaved children, beautiful home, the list goes on. They paint a picture of a flawless existence where everything is going right. They never have problems, never experience crises, and every decision they've made has turned out to be the right one. It's as if they've mastered the art of living, and their life is an example of what you should be striving for. On the surface, you might recognize that no one's life is perfect, but over time, this relative's constant bragging can chip away at your own sense of contentment. You might find yourself subconsciously comparing your life to theirs, questioning why things haven't gone as well for you. The more they boast about their achievements, the more you might start to feel like you're somehow falling short. Even though you know deep down that perfection doesn't exist, it's hard to ignore the feelings of inadequacy that their constant display of success can provoke. The perfect relative has two main strategies for making you feel inferior. The first is direct bragging. They talk openly about their successes, whether it's their latest promotion, their children's accomplishments, or their brand new home. Every detail is designed to make you feel like you're lagging behind, highlighting how much more successful their life is compared to yours. The second is a more subtle form of bragging, humble bragging. They pretend to be modest, but there's always an underlying message that suggests if you haven't achieved the same things they have, it's because you've made the wrong choices. Phrases like, "Oh, it's nothing special, I just worked really hard and made the right choices," are meant to imply that if you haven't reached the same level of success, you must have made mistakes along the way. It's important to remember that what this relative shows is only part of the story. No one's life is perfect, and often the people who feel the need to display their successes the most are the ones who have the most insecurities. What they share with you is a carefully curated version of their life, not the full picture. Comparing yourself to them only creates unnecessary dissatisfaction, as their journey is entirely different from yours. If their constant bragging makes you uncomfortable, it's okay to set boundaries. You don't have to ask about their latest achievements or engage in conversations that make you feel inferior. And if they try to compare their life to yours, don't fall into the trap. Respond confidently and with pride in your own choices by saying something like, "I'm happy with what I have. I don't need anything else." This sets the tone that you are content with your own life and you don't need to measure your worth against theirs. Remember, your life is unique and it's not meant to be a competition. We truly hope that this video has been helpful and inspiring for you. If you found this content valuable, please share it with anyone who might benefit from it. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.